Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, to begin with you, Professor Kisiangani, how did the Deputy President perform in the presidential debate, according to you?
The performance was excellent. And I'm not the only one who's talking about enough energy. He can dare the devils, and he was able to appear, even when his competitor was fidgeting and hiding under the tables in some restaurant watching. This guy came out to face the people and tell the people what he wants what he wants to do for the people. So his performance was excellent. I think because of the nature of the questions that the media asked, you didn't get the best of William Ruto, because I expected them to come down to these issues in this manifesto.
And that's what I wanted to come to.
But they did not do it. So they asked some frivolous questions. And but even when the frivolous questions came up, he was calm and he did the job well. He proved that he's ready to govern and he wants to be the president of Kenya. He's ready. So I think it was an excellent performance.
Professor Manyora, did the appearance by the Deputy President change any views for those who might have been undecided voters? Do you think they swayed his way after he had his 90 minutes of selling his manifesto to Kenyans?
Well, I want to begin by saying Deputy President William Ruto tried as a teacher.
Okay. I
know when somebody tries, you don't fail them, you give them a pass. So he got a good pass, 50%. As to whether he was able to convince people, I doubt. First, the approach the people handling him and Rigathi Gachagua took is the wrong approach for a debate.
Why is that?
You know, when you go for a debate, there are two sets of audience. Two sets of audience. The first set is a cheering audience, upon which many people say you have won a debate. Because many people cheer you, say, ha, he's done well, he's punched. And then there is a set of audience, the critical thinking audience, may need to be found among the undecided voters. A big chunk of undecided voters have not decided because they are still figuring out who to vote for. Therefore, they are thinking about the election. They are not taken in by theatrics. So if you look at Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua was addressing that set of audience. Rigathi Gachagua was addressing the cheering crowd. Unfortunately, and they should learn for future, because the team is made up of fairly young people, including their candidate. For the future, the person who cheers you most is already your voter. You already have him. You are entertaining somebody you already have. You get it? The person you are looking for is what Martha Karua was looking for. So in terms of whether William Ruto therefore was able to sway the voter, I very much doubt, and for another reason.
Eric,
I'll give you an opportunity. I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
You should help him.
Kindly,
he
sir.
Doesn't know the difference between Martha Karua and William Ruto.
Kindly, sir.
This is the problem I have with Manyora always.
And I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
All right.
Go ahead, sir.
I was just using that because in the first debate, there were two candidates.
Okay.
So I'm saying the kind of person, the kind of voter Martha Karua was addressing is different from the kind of voter Rigathi Gachagua was addressing. So William Ruto appealed to the same voter Rigathi Gachagua appealed to, the cheering voter, who is already yours. You get it?
And so let me just cut you short there.
Yes.
One side of the equation has been painted as a corrupt side. And in fact, as late as, as recent as today, as Kenya Kwanza's running mate, that is Rigathi Gachagua, has been dealt a blow by the courts. 202 million, he's set to lose 202 million shillings. The courts have said that could have come from corruption. If we still have undecided voters, as I've said, one side of the equation has been painted as corrupt. This other side has been painted as those that are reformers. Are you not worried if you feel that we still have undecided voters who are yet to choose between the reformers
But you have
and the
already
looters.
answered the question. That undecided voter who is
And that's why I'm asking you, doesn't that worry you? Could that undecided voter be a silent voter for this other side?
worry me as who now? Me, I'm only analyzing what I'm seeing. I'm not like, unlike him, I don't work for Raila Odinga or for Ruto. Me, I'm just an
You are
observer.
Raila Odinga's chief.
It's okay. It's
No,
okay,
no,
please.
no, no.
So let's just give an opportunity.
And in fact, I wouldn't see why the Raila side will be worried, because what if you are talking about what happens today is a coffin, is a nail in the coffin of UDA. Because if somebody was still trying to weigh between Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua, because that's where it has gone to, especially in Mount Kenya region, surely there's no more weighing. It's already decided. They already voted for Martha Karua and Raila Odinga. And by the way, if this was in another country, in a developed democracy, and he will agree with me, William Ruto's campaign would have collapsed today. Yeah, Raila Odinga will be waiting to be sworn in, because you cannot have a running mate at this late, where you can replace, perhaps found with that kind of issue by the High Court, and you still run a campaign. We are only running this campaign because this is Kenya. If it was elsewhere, Ruto's campaign would have collapsed today.
Usmane did the Gachagua steal?
I'll ask the questions. I'll ask the questions kindly. A rejoinder.
You
Go ahead, Prof. Yeah.
Did the court say that Gachagua stole anybody's money? Did the ruling say Gachagua has 200 million which is in contention?
Proceeds of corruption.
Did
Means
it say,
stolen money.
Stolen from where?
But the court mentioned where?
They are saying he hasn't accounted for it. But have they said he stole money from a particular entity? You should read the judgment. You see what? The courts are not saying Manyora lost money. The statements are generalized that he can't account for the money. You know what, Eric, you can give me money, 100,000 shillings, and I put it in my pocket, and you say, keep it for me. And when Manyora asks, where did you get this money? He doesn't expect me to say, Eric gave me to keep this money. When he has no unga, he will come and I keep it. Many lawyers in this country keep money for other people, but it's your money. So we are not under obligation. The thing is, who has come to court to say Gachagua took his money?
Minister of Land,
Which means
Nyeri County.
Let's not dwell on that. Let's not dwell on
Madira
that. It's okay.
constituency.
Let's go on, sir.
these are allegations. But he has already said he's going to appeal.
Okay.
And the court process
And we leave it at that.
We leave it at that because the court process is still on.
Okay.
And one of the things that Eric, you need to understand, and which we have been arguing about.
Yes.
Manyora is smiling, but if his candidate wins the election, he can be in trouble. He can be a victim of what's happening. The weaponization of corruption, where people wait for 10 days before you go for an election, and then they tell you, the court has done this. It's part of the lack of independency in terms of funding of the judicial system. What we would like to do is this. Let us leave the independent institutions to conclude that case. There are very many other avenues for Gachagua to do his work and get justice. Once we reach probably the Supreme Court and we know that it is final, we can make conclusions. How many people have been falsely accused in this country just because somebody is desperate to win elections?
Okay, fair enough. Professor Herman, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga said that he could not debate on the same platform with Deputy President William Ruto, and he cited integrity issues. But then again, his running mate, Martha Karua, didn't cite integrity issues and went ahead and debated Rigathi Gachagua. One could posit that is double standards right there. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we can address that, but just have a second to remind my friend, Edward, that you see, this issue has not come from the streets like allegations. This is not just from some junior court, from the High Court, and saying where the 200 million has come from. Minister of Lands, Bungoma County, Nyeri County, Madira constituency, etc., etc. They have pointed out so. And the High
go ahead.
Court. So let's leave that. Let's go back where you are saying. You know, there are from what I understand, there are like 3 reasons why Raila Odinga didn't participate in the debate. The first reason was to do with the way the debate was being conducted. Okay? There were issues raised, some of which we could also see, including Sakaja coming late, not reprimanded, walking in with a phone, using the same phone throughout the interview, followed by Rigathi Gachagua, referring to...
To be fair, Sakaja was a bit reprimanded.
Not quite.
And every time he wanted to speak for more...
But I'm talking about coming late.
Manyora doesn't watch
I'm
TV.
talking about coming late.
Every time he...
No, listen.
Every time he spent more than the allocated time, he was reminded that he came in late.
Is okay.
But let's just talk about the debate between Raila Odinga and...
That's where I'm going.
William
You're
Ruto,
asking me why he didn't come, and I want to explain to you.
Okay,
I'm saying they are basing themselves on a number of things. One is that way they did, and I'm giving the Sakaja example, including using the phone. And then comes in Rigathi, he comes with what we used to call sometimes back Pambana, Mwakenya, is referring to written material against the rules of the debate, and nobody stopped him.
Okay.
That is one of the reasons. The other reason, there had been a lot of childish demands from the other side, including as late as 21st of July, where Hussein Mohammed talks about even what kind of questions should be asked, how much time should be allocated. So they thought that was a little childish. And finally, according to Raila Odinga, debating William Ruto will be to kind of sanitize him, sharing a platform with a person of the caliber of William Ruto. That is from Raila Odinga, not Manyora. So for those reasons, he thought he was not going to participate. And I'm even wondering why people are making a lot of fuss when William Ruto, failed to participate in 2017.
Did his missing the debate affect his ratings, Professor?
I think the jury is out there. It has to affect. The reason is this. And it affected it because this was contempt of the Kenyan public. What you are saying, you have a person out there called Raila Odinga who wants to be president of Kenya. These frequencies we are using at TV 47 and other places are public assets. You use all media houses focus on you. They want you to tell Kenyans what you want to do. This interview was not about William Ruto. It was about the people of Kenya. This shows what sort of president he's going to be. He has no respect for the people of Kenya. Everybody, including my mother, glued on TV before they switched it off because she wanted to watch it. But then they switched it off. This is a public enterprise. Everybody was glued on TV, and then you chicken out. You have no respect of the people of Kenya. But the reason also why, and that's why he should not be elected, and the reason why, why he didn't come, I think I sympathize with him. He doesn't have the intellectual sophistication of William Ruto. The intellectual sophistication of William Ruto, where he has a grasp for issues. He has these issues in the plan. Manufacturing. He has something about infrastructure, jobs, value addition. These are things Raila doesn't understand. He likes slogans at public places. So as a result of that, he will not sustain a debate with somebody of William Ruto's setting. Now, when people can't cope with their intellectual sophistication, Raila, if you put Raila together with William Ruto, Raila is an intellectual lightweight. And so because of that, he cannot take on a heavyweight contender. He needed a lightweight to do the job. So he played safe because he would be injured intellectually. That is the reason why he didn't come. But the other part, because there are many reasons why he does not come. You have heard my brother Herman Manyora talking very confidently that he was going to sanitize Ruto. I think it is Ruto who would sanitize Raila Odinga because the guy was born in 1945 and in 1970 he has a master's degree. He doesn't tell us whether he did common entrance or not. So how did he get a master's degree without that and he has been cleared? Now, William Ruto can talk about his intellectual background, where he came from school up to where he is. So who is sanitizing
But
the
Raila has
other?
already done that, sir.
No, wait.
Raila has
Wait,
questions have been asked.
no,
Questions have been
no.
asked, and he's answered all of them satisfactorily, sir.
No, you don't understand.
No, sir, he's done his part. You've asked questions, and he
I'm
has
talking
answered.
about this. Don't interfere with my point of sanitization. We are talking about sanitization. When we had a problem of maize scandal in Raila's office in 2011, what was it? Are you satisfied with the explanations that came out of that office? The Triton Petroleum. How did we get our molasses plant moved from a state corporation to an individual corporation? These questions even you people in the media don't ask, Eric. And you want to tell us that without explaining the background of these things, and we members of the public have not been told how state corporations can become individual things, the Dominion farms in Yala, then you come and tell us it is Ruto who needs sanitization. Come on, this guy is a communication teacher. He doesn't know the words he uses. The problem with him, he's dealing with things he doesn't have capacity to handle those issues.
Kindly address Kenyans. Okay, let's just move away from that. Okay, Professor, the executive director of the Azimio Presidential Secretariat, that is Raphael Tuju, has claimed that President Uhuru Kenyatta was forced to part with a huge amount of money to get support from Deputy President William Ruto. That is in 2013, which takes us back to around March 2018, when other NASA core principals claimed that Raila negotiated a deal for himself and instead called the handshake. Don't the claims by Tuju lend credence to such claims?
Yeah, before that, because I'm seated here and people are watching, those who have listened to Raila Odinga, they know his intellectual capacity. Mm-hmm. When the guy handles issues standing up there, you are amazed at his grasp of ideas. Mm-hmm. And this is recognized world over. So to talk about intellectual capacity is to miss the point. We are going back to what we have seen. Mm-hmm. As to his academic background, I'm not his father, I was not his teacher. Mm-hmm. But I do know he went to East Germany. Yeah. The education in Germany, East Germany, such as, for example, like also with Russia, people sometimes make mistakes in understanding their way of certification. But that's not my concern. In terms of corruption, we have allegations. You can make all sorts of allegations about Manyora and about Edward. But the team you represent, Edward, it's not allegation. Today, your deputy president running mate has been found to have been involved in corruption and ordered to forfeit the 200 million he acquired corruptly by a high court of the Republic of Kenya. Those are not allegations.
Let's get back to Tuju's claims.
We are there.
Okay,
Your presidential candidate has been to court over issues, not allegations, some of which he has been found guilty of. These are not allegations. Now, in terms of what Tuju was saying, I was watching and I also thought it was rather out of step. Those kind of allegations are not very good. They don't serve any purpose, if you ask me. Because then they lead to many other questions. Mm-hmm. If this, then this.
Yep.
If then, so has Raila bought Uhuru for support?
Uhuru bought Raila.
Or is it Uhuru bought Raila? Mm-hmm. I mean, if Raila wants to be president, so it means Raila has also bought Uhuru. That's why I wouldn't want to entertain those kind of things. If I was Tuju or if I was Azimio, you don't benefit from those kind of things.
I think,
especially with a week or two before an election. Mm-hmm. Well, this kind of allegation, they hit both sides. You may think you are hitting, but they also hit you. That's what I would say for now.
On that one, mm-hmm. This is my elder brother. We know each other very well. But I don't entertain some things from him. But on this one, I think I support him. Mm-hmm. I think he is very genuine. Mm-hmm. This is the first time he has been genuine this year. This guy.
My middle name is genuine.
He is genuine. The point is, when you have this kind of thing where you are alleging, I think the desperation to hurt Ruto has come to what you see. What the chicken have come home to roost. Yeah. Because they intended to hurt Ruto, but they have hurt Uhuru more. Because they are saying Uhuru was so desperate to become president that he bought Ruto. So therefore, if that is his modus operandi in politics, how much money has Raila paid to Uhuru to secure Uhuru's support? Maybe Banyora sits with Raila, he can tell us.
But then again, I want to stay with you, sir. President Uhuru Kenyatta has been hitting out at his deputy president after the presidential debate. Several media houses, including this one, fact-checked Ruto's claims, some of the claims that he made, and we found a lot, some of the things that he stated that were inaccurate. Could that mean, and I want to return it to President Uhuru Kenyatta, who's recently been saying that his deputy president is a liar, could that mean that Ruto was given a platform, watched by over 30 million Kenyans, a very big platform for 90 minutes, stated some things that are inaccurate? Could that mean that in some rallies he could be misleading Kenyans as of now?
I think you have to get specific. What is it that was inadequate?
Taxes on fuel. He was inaccurate on taxes on fuel. He was inaccurate about those blacklisted by the CRBs in the country, and many others. We did a fact check, and that's why I'm asking you. Could that mean that while he's on the campaign trail, there are things that he might be telling Mwananchi that are quite not practical?
I don't think that you can come here. The media was there when Ruto was talking. Mm-hmm. They didn't ask him the questions. You say that he said something wrong about taxes. Unless we compare what he says with what you have found out, and I have specific things, mm-hmm. I'm not competent to answer that, because that was a long conversation. Mm-hmm. So the inaccuracies you are citing, they're neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. So, and if you get those inaccuracies, we are ready to address them, but and William Ruto will still get to address them. I'm sure you have clips about what he says. Yes. So I don't think it's right to make wide allegations. And Raila Odinga should, by the way, have attended to address those inaccuracies. And it's not you to do it. Mm-hmm. You are in fact, the way you are talking, you just confirm that the media, during the interview, the debate, the media was representing Raila Odinga.
No, the media was not representing Raila Odinga.
I think they had a candidate. The media represented Raila Odinga.
It is our role to tell the masses what the truth is. We did a fact check, and that's why I've told you. Many media houses did a fact check, including this one. We did it. We have a fact check desk, and we found several things that he had stated that were inaccurate. That is our role as the media.
Yes, you must point out those things, and you should have raised those things at that point. You should have said, what you are saying about the taxes over this matter is not correct. None of the people who are interviewing the deputy president raised the question of inaccuracy. So you can't come here and say inaccuracy. So we have to sit in a classroom and check what William Ruto was saying, and then we check against what you have found out. That's the only way we can make that conclusion. I do research. I'm a researcher. I don't make those wide allegations.
Okay.
I think, but there was a bigger thing that whether he's misleading. Mm-hmm. I think that's the point you are raising.
Yes.
Whether he's misleading the public or not. I don't think Ruto loves his country, and I don't think he can deliberately get out to mislead people just because of politics. You have had fellows, especially in the media. You see, as media, you have seen people misleading, politicians misleading Kenyans about BBI. They want to mutilate the constitution, which will hit you hard. You don't raise questions. And now you focus on Ruto, what he's saying at public places. I don't find, that's why I say that actually in this campaign, the media have a candidate, and their candidate is Raila Odinga.
When Sakaja faced Igathe, we also did a fact check, and both of them had their equal share of inaccuracies.
Yes.
Yes, so it's something that we do.
I don't want to speak for William Ruto. As I said,
okay,
you must give me a specific case of what you call inaccuracy relating to taxes, and they say, this is what William Ruto said, this is what we found out. And give me time to cross-check, because you can distort facts, you can misunderstand facts. And that is what research is all about. All of us can misunderstand certain things. So once we do that cross-checking, that's the only way I can conclude with information that either the deputy president erred in this or in that matter. But for now, I don't think that it's right for you to tell me that William Ruto had inaccuracies and he was debating. He hoped to debate Raila Odinga, and Raila Odinga didn't turn up.
Fair enough.
That is more important than the statements he's making, isn't it?
I think, to be fair, really, both of you are right. You are right because anytime people engage in something of that nature, there's what they call fact check.
Yes.
Yep.
And they say wrong, understated, overstated. So when Ruto says that between 2018 and 2022, the government has borrowed so much, he's overstating by 500 billion. It is stated because the books of government are there. When he says the money they inherited from Kibaki, he has understated by about 500 billion. When he says there are about, I don't know how many, 15 or so, or 12 levies on petroleum, the media fact checks and find there are 8. There are quite a number of things. But to me, I'm saying that's how media works, and it's internationally. And to you, you're also right, because those are small matters.
Okay.
When you are speaking in public and you say we inherited, we got from Kibaki a loan of 1.5 when it is maybe 2 billion. It's not a big issue because you are speaking on top of your head. Okay. You are not in a classroom where you must give facts or in a courtroom.
Okay, Professor,
but you are making a point. So the point was made. The only thing I would have raised if I was media, if I was sitting where you are sitting,
yes,
is it would appear this interrogation, because from a debate it became interrogation, cross-examining, it got him off balance. He looked like fish out of water. And for once, the eloquent, confident Ruto disappeared. We saw a rather shaky person, almost trembling and with a dry mouth. You know, you say I'm a communication person.
At that time,
and he looked lost a bit.
Okay, it's okay, Professor.
And let me tell you, just because we are leaving that topic past, you may not come to it.
Yeah.
If you want to know he didn't do as well as my friend is saying, William Samoei Ruto, 90 minutes debate, not for once talking about bottom up, hustler this, 50 billion.
And we'll come to that. We'll come to that because when we started,
that shows he was quite.
Yes, when we were starting the interview, he touched on it.
He was unsettled.
But Professor, I want to stay with you.
Yes.
10 days to the general election.
Yes.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has gone full throttle on his deputy president, sometimes even getting personal, calling him a liar and all these things. Yes. I know this question has been asked before, but why is Uhuru so invested in his succession politics?
Let us begin by saying, anybody who leads a country gets to a point he understands the country and the people more than other people. I had Moy say it I was there when you were saying it. You people think I can just give anybody to be president. I know these people. So, when you are a president of a country...
Is it in his place to give the presidency?
No, listen, I'm not talking about giving. I'm saying, I'm talking about Moy, he was being told to give so-and-so, Saitosi, those kind of thing. Yeah? So when you are a president and you have the interest of your country, you'll take an interest in who succeeds you, naturally. It's just like you can't just walk home. You take an interest. So if Uhuru has taken an interest in who succeeds him, it's natural and normal. Okay? So long as he's not forcing Kenyans to vote for Raila, it is within his rights because he understands this country. He understands his deputy. Perhaps he's feeling for the people of Kenya and say, I can't leave this country in this manner. I know him. Perhaps. I'm saying perhaps. And maybe when history is written, people will say, kumbe Uhuru alikuwa anajua. You see what I'm saying? So it is within his right, democratic right, to support a candidate of his choice, and perhaps in the interest of this country, because he knows Ruto more than any of us in this country. Maybe he has knowledge of Ruto, which he knows if this guy takes over this country, inji itaporomoka. And I will do my best to prevent that happening, to help the people of this country, not to give somebody I am convinced and I know and I understand will take this country to the dogs, perhaps.
And I can see Professor is itching to respond, but I just want to stay with you there.
Yes.
The president can only go as far as endorsing, not saying that he won't give or he will give. He is on record as saying that he will not hand over power to so-and-so. What if this so-and-so fairly loses the election and then comes back and says, you see, I won, but then again, the incumbent said he's not going to hand it over to me?
Let's stay with that. I will not hand over power. Not the handing over that you must do after an election. In other words, I'm going away. My term has come to an end. I would want this country not to go in the hands of this person who is my deputy president. That's what I don't.
And
I wouldn't want to do that.
And that's why I'm asking you.
But when it comes to
deputy
handing
president
over,
loses the election fairly.
Yeah, no,
But
listen,
then again, uses
whether the election is fair
use
or
the
not.
excuse that the incumbent with all his powers had said that he is not going to hand it over to me.
No, let me say, whether the elections are fair or not, so long as we have gotten where we must have somebody hand over, Uhuru has no choice in the matter.
Okay.
He's not within, he doesn't even have an iota of power to change that.
Thank you.
He will simply do his constitutional duty, which is to hand over power to Raila Odinga, or whoever will have won.
Okay.
In his interest, let me say to William Ruto.
There
he has no choice.
You see?
Okay.
And he has no say in the matter.
Let me just
Respond to that.
Let me just say something. But before, earlier on, there was something that you raised, but which was important, but I'll just make a comment of 15 seconds on it.
It's okay.
Which was a person who, William Ruto's caliber, making a mistake, mathematical mistakes in his figures, or a presidential candidate who can go to the international media and claim that he's a cousin to Obama, and then they confirm that he's not a cousin to Obama. This is what Raila did. So which one is a bigger one?
Let's not
so
go there.
This is the point. You are talking about integrity issues. So who can we believe? Anyway, let's leave that at that point.
Okay, go ahead.
Manyora is used to be anyway. The problem that we are facing now is the president has misread his job description. If you read this president was elected through a constitutional process, and it was never his job description to choose for us a successor. Kenyans must know that the president had a job to do, to govern, and when his term expires, under Article 1 of the Constitution, sovereignty belongs to the people. When you talk about our president saying he can't hand over power, you see, you have to ask a question. He's making judgment about his deputy.
Yeah.
Does Uhuru have the moral high ground to make judgment and be a point of reference in judging Ruto? This question is being asked with a lot of respect, Eric, but I ask it because for you and me who profess Christianity, because my brother is a Muslim, if you didn't know, we have this case in the Bible where Jesus asked about this lady who was supposed to be a prostitute, said, what do we do with this lady? And then people were saying, we should stone the lady. Everybody said stone. Then they said, Jesus asked, let the people who have never done some of these things, who think they are decent, clean, pick the first stone. People disappeared. So you want to judge Ruto through Uhuru. Is that the correct thing to do? What about those of us who want to judge Uhuru on our own? We also have a chance to say something about Uhuru. Don't elevate our president to an angel that is the only reference point for us to judge Uhuru, Ruto. We also know Ruto very well. We can make judgment. We know our ministers very well. We can judge our president. You have to ask this question. If people wanted Uhuru to run for a third term, somebody suggested let Uhuru run for a third term, if our constitutions were to allow, would people vote for him? Of course, people will have their mixed thinking. So therefore, Uhuru's view of Ruto is a single view of Ruto.
Okay.
But we have our own views of Ruto, and the job of Uhuru is let him support Raila Odinga as he's doing. But it is not his job description as the president of Kenya, as he's exiting the scene, to start forcing his successor on us. He should just say, I support Raila, but I, as Kisiangani, you as Eric Munene, you must also choose your own. But it must not be a big story that when the president says we support Raila, we go by Raila's way. And then we talk like Manyora is saying, that now because the president has spoken, then we all should support Raila Odinga because the country is in danger. What about 2013? There were people who were passing judgments about Uhuru because of the ICC case. that this is an international criminal. They cannot rule the country.
Professor,
Judgment was there. Didn't we vote for Uhuru? And we made a judgment of our own. We didn't go by the judgment of the international community, and Uhuru has been our president. So don't take me into this trivial matter where you say that because Uhuru has said Ruto is bad, therefore all Kenyans should say Ruto is bad.
Well, Professor, I have a message for you here from Paul Juma. He's saying Professor Kisiangani used to be a big critic of Moses Kuria, and now there's no difference between them. They are all lost. And also I have a message for you, Prof. Manyora is also an Azimio guy. He should just come out and be honest. That's from Shamil Miano. Thank you very much, Shamil Miano and Paul Juma, for watching. But I want to come to you, Professor. A lot of conversations surrounding this country's cost of living, both offline and online, are really tied to the Jubilee regime. Do you think, from where you sit, Uhuru's endorsement of Raila is a blessing or a liability?
Thank you. Just for a second. When Obama was in this country, he was amused.
Raila's cousin.
One evening at Rosavilla Kempinski, they were trying to explain to him, huyu munaitana hivi, this is your sisters, who are the F is your aunt, and they say, please stop there. So just to correct my brother here, in Africa, everybody is related to the other. We are all brothers and cousins. Okay. Obama is even my cousin. So Raila is a cousin to Obama, just as I am a cousin. That was on a light note. Yes. Now, it is true this country is hurting. The cost of living is impossible. The economy is doing so badly. Okay. Unlike many people, including perhaps my brother, I do not want to be simplistic about it. This is a global problem. Mm-hmm. Granted, there are global factors over which we could do something. I've given this example of oil. Mm-hmm. If we ignored Americans and bought oil from Iran, those are so-called external factors, but we could mitigate them by going for oil from Iran. Mm-hmm. Then there are also internal factors, which are perhaps beyond or very challenging the government. Some brought about by Corona and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But there are also other factors within the country that are internal, which the government could do something about. Some it is doing something about, many others it's not doing something about. So what I'm saying is, the challenge we are facing is not one to be trivialized, something you want to get cheap political capital out of. Now, as to whether Raila will bear the baggage and the burden of being supported by a man who is supposed to have caused all this suffering, okay,
yes,
is a matter of debate, subject of debate.
Yes.
When you get support from a sitting president, it doesn't count for nothing. The office of president is a powerful office. Even in America, there are issues. People have been arguing for years. How fair is it for you to run against a sitting president who is seeking his second term when he's occupying Air Force One with the secrets to the nuclear codes?
That's democracy.
Yeah, so therefore, if someone supports you and is the president of the country, yes, it cannot count for nothing. Okay. It brings second term. The mere fact of being an incumbent, being the sitting president, looking for re-election, or supporting you in the case of Raila Odinga, it comes with encumbrances. Because all his problems, people will heap on you. And for Raila, it becomes more challenging. Because then people are saying, some of these things have been brought up by handshake. Of course, cheaply, because that's not true. But then you have to bear with that. In politics, perception is king. So if people perceive you as part of their problem, then you have to pay the cost. And for this reason, there are benefits Raila gets from the association and support of Uhuru. But there are also challenges. There are also minuses, which he has to bear. That's how I can answer that question.
You agree with that, Professor?
I would ask a question for my brother.
I will answer it.
Yes. Which Raila are you supporting? You know the variant of Raila you are supporting?
Which,
there are several variants of Raila. There is a variant, the current Raila doesn't even understand that Kenyans are suffering. Because this is the space he used to occupy. Many Kenyans in this...
Why would you say that, sir? But he's come out to tell Kenyans that he sympathizes with them, the high cost of living, and he wants to change that. Why would you say that?
Why is he not changing it? Let me ask you something.
The bat does not stop
Eric
with him right now.
Eric, let me tell you. His friend, the president, supports Raila's candidature. Raila, even in BBI, if they were really serious about this country, they would have increased the count allocation by 35%. The constitution doesn't bar that. So they could still implement some things. Why would you wait for Uhuru to exit and he's supporting you for you to improve the cost of living?
Can I answer?
This is very trivial.
You said you want me to answer.
This is the, no, wait, the hypocrisy you have. And I think Manyora's ignorance is getting worse. He has told you that we should have imported oil from Iran. Now, he's saying that the problems we are having is caused by oil. Kenya does not import oil from Ukraine or Russia. Kenya imports oil from the Middle East, Oman, Kuwait. So how he's tying that to the cost of living because of Ukraine, because he mentioned the problems in Ukraine, I don't understand. So the point is, the reason why we are suffering in this country with this high cost of living is not because of the international economic situation getting worse. We do not have enough.
It has contributed.
But with a very small,
it has contributed.
Very little percentage. The point is, we must have our economy has been constricting. We do not have enough cushions from our internal economy to deal with external attacks. Okay. And therefore, the blame doesn't become the international community. The blame is how we have managed our economy. Now, a simple solution to that problem in our camp with William Ruto has been that the reason why our economy is constricting is because the top cannot take care of the bottom, which has a huge population.
Maybe I should answer the question first.
So we must change. Yes.
Let me answer that. Then you continue.
I'm finishing.
Then you'll come back to that. That's a different topic.
Just let him finish.
No, he will take that topic because it's a good topic.
Yes.
He wants
let him finish.
To us about bottom up. I've never understood what it means.
Okay.
So this
He'll
is a good
explain it to
chance
us.
for him to explain. So
he will.
Let me first take
if
the question.
If you have not understood, what have you been doing?
He answered that question. He asked that question. Let me answer the question.
No.
Just a minute.
He doesn't want me to talk about that because
I want you to have
I've taught him with his pants down, so he doesn't want to.
No, just okay. 30 seconds or less. Just finish what you're saying because I want us to move on.
Yes, I'm saying this. We need to change our conversation where we have to enhance production at the base, empower people at the base, raise revenue locally, export more than import, and then the economy will be strong enough to absorb the international pressures that we are now facing today. So this management of the economy, the conversation around the economy, is what this election is all about. We must change our conversation and say, we have been making mistakes. And for your information, it's not that we are excusing William Ruto. He has been in government. But you know, when you are in trouble, when you are sick, you go to hospital. So William Ruto has thought about it and say, why don't we change the conversation and everybody joins us
and
to
it took
fix
him 9 years. It took him 9 years to understand that the base will support the top, the bottom-up economic model. It took him 9 years. It
hasn't taken him 9 years. It is just the fact that he doesn't have the executive authority to implement what he wants. He has told you how he wanted the housing thing to be done. He has his boss.
He could have shared it with his boss. Has he done that?
No.
You have conversations with him.
How many things have Ruto shared with Uhuru? He doesn't tell us everything he shares with Uhuru.
So you're telling us that he shared the bottom-up economic model with Uhuru?
He even confirmed that he has shared certain things in cabinet and with the president, which he didn't want to discuss. Okay. So I'm not speaking on behalf of William Ruto. He's the deputy president. Okay. But if he has executive power, this is the time we are going to judge him. Okay. President Kibaki looked completely helpless under Daniel Arap Moi. When he became president, that's the best president we have had in this country. Okay. So let Ruto be given his executive authority and we shall judge him from there.
Fair enough.
So you answer my question, my brother. Are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Why are you sleeping?
Let's be fair, because sleep is good. Let's be fair to him and to William Ruto. He doesn't have executive power. So there are many things he would have loved to do, but he can't do. If the deputy president doesn't have executive power, how much more so a person who is not part of government, like Raila Odinga? You see, if Ruto, who is part of government, deputy president, doesn't have executive power and therefore can't move certain things, how would you expect a complete stranger like Raila Odinga to do something? It's a contradiction. Secondly, as a friend of the president's, Raila Odinga can advise. We may not know. Today, the cost of fuel, petrol will be more expensive by about 45 shillings. except for government intervention. Do you know whether it's Raila who has convinced his brother to do that? The cost of maize flour, unga, has been reduced by about 50%. How do you know whether it's Raila who has convinced his friend?
For a few days.
As a friend.
For a few days.
I'm saying as a friend. What does a few days mean? Because I go.
Do you go to the supermarket?
What does a few days?
Just
listen.
go ahead. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
You know, you can have a measure put in place, but execution of that can have challenges, logistical challenges.
Yeah.
So that is not the principle. Is that millers and the government have agreed to reduce the maize flour by about 50%. The 30 days are because of the issues. No, because of the issues involved. Because there is maize coming in duty free. The scenario will change when you have that maize. Certain regions are about to harvest maize. In my place, we have harvested. So you can't say this thing will be forever or for 6 months. These are things, and it has always been like that. They are always reviewed periodically, including the time when William Ruto was Minister in charge of Agriculture. Salem Mudavadi was Minister of Finance. As to the international thing he talked about. I never mentioned Russia, I never mentioned Ukraine, but it is in their head. They always jump. However, it will be very surprising for a man of his level to say that the Russia-Ukraine war has not affected the world. It will be very strange. And when I talk about Iran, I'm not saying we import oil from Yemen or from Ukraine or Russia. I know where we import our oil from. And we are forced by Americans not to get oil where it is cheapest like Iran because of geopolitics, because of international politics, because of their problems with Iran. They force us to deal with their friends. You should know, you are the guy who knows these things. You should actually teach me. So to say that to say international forces cannot affect cost of living here, including, by the way, about 9 or 8 months ago, I'm not quite sure, I think towards the end of last year, the international shipping lines, the people who transport international commodities, increased their costs, freight costs, 3 times, the cartels, by 3 times. Those are international factors you cannot ignore when you are talking about the cost of living in any part of the world. So I think it must take me back.
He's an apologist.
No.
Wait, you are an apologist of the state.
No.
Excuse me,
that takes me back.
I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
That takes me back to what I have said before.
Let's wind up because I want us to move on to something else.
That takes me back to what I have said. We are suffering as a country. In fact, we are at a state where Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, William Ruto should sit down and talk about the economy of this country. It happened in America in 2008, just before the election, when Obama took. Americans had to put aside their differences to save collapsing corporations because hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs were being lost when companies were collapsing. Government had to give money to companies, private companies. And they agreed, bipartisan. That's where we are today. Let's not cheapen this thing. Because, as I finish, Kenya is just a step away from Sri Lanka. We are not that far. This is a fragile economy. It cannot withstand certain things. And therefore, we must be very careful when we are talking about the economy of this country at this particular
It's
moment.
only William Ruto who's talking about the economy, Eric.
And let me
so he says...
Yes, and I want us to talk about William Ruto and the way he talks about the economy. President Uhuru Kenyatta has made it clear that he supports Raila Odinga and Martha Karua so that they can carry on with the job that he's been doing. The deputy president, during the presidential debate, claimed that Kenya's economy was performing poorly as a result of unbudgeted projects. Implementing unbudgeted projects. He also said that over 100 billion shillings was spent by the government on unbudgeted projects, promising to halt some of them. What is the criteria he plans to follow if he wins the election in halting such development projects?
You see what? Physical discipline. You only spend money on projects that have been budgeted for. Even if other things come up, you should discipline yourself. This is the only money I have, and the money available is for ABCD. There is no magic about that. But you see, the economy, let me ask you.
Yep.
Suddenly, probably 12 billion become available to import maize. 3-4 months ago, I come from Bungoma. I planted my maize 6,000 per 50 kilogram of fertilizer. So, the government policy, you strangle me, there is a shortage, a few months later, money is available to import maize. What sort of economics is that? So, when you tell me that, as my brother is saying, that the president is telling us we follow Raila Odinga and vote for Martha Karua and Raila Odinga ticket, in my own interpretation is telling us, vote for them because they support me, and Raila Odinga has always said that he will continue with what Uhuru is doing. You are voting for status quo. What does status quo mean? Status quo means a poorly planned economy. Status quo means unemployment, levels which are high. Status quo means CRB listing, where people are suffering, they have different mobile phones at the same time. Status quo, it means the collapse of the housing scheme. Status quo means promoting and budgeted projects. Status quo means the price of fertilizer going to 6,000 instead of the initial 2,800. This status quo is what we are being invited, my brother, to vote for. And this status quo will worsen the country's situation up to Sri Lanka, as he's putting it. So what we really need to do is we must vote the economy, but we must not vote for status quo. What is on trial? All the presidential candidates are being invited to say what they can do to change the country's lifestyle, to change the people's current misery to some kind of hope. And now, you cannot bring hope to the Kenyan people if you are voting for status quo. Herman Manyora, you can see he's rivaling Oguna as the government spokesman in this discussion. He is encouraging us, and he has good education. He's telling people to vote for the status quo. Status quo also means this, and this is the last point I'm making on this matter. Raila Odinga, despite the economic problems we have, he wants to spend money to change the constitution. If he spends money under the current situation to change the constitution the way they were running around with a lot of money, which was also not budgeted for BBI. You remember the money for BBI, Eric, was not budgeted for. That's one of the projects which was not budgeted for. Then he ends up running around with this money. The dollar shilling will go to 200. Where can we afford that dollar shilling? When he talks about 6,000 shillings, which he's going to give people, when I look at it, if you have so much money in circulation against a constricted economy which is not producing much, you cause inflation because there is so much money in circulation chasing a few goods. That is a simple definition of inflation. So I suspect Raila Odinga's plan is this: to please Kenyans with printing money from Delarue on Thika Road and then giving everybody 6,000, and the 6,000 will not be even buy a biro pen. This is what we
Professor,
have.
You speak with
that
so much conviction.
Professor,
you speak with so much conviction in saying that...
yes, because I know what I'm talking about. I come from Kenya Kwanza, you know.
The deputy president has always wanted to differentiate the first term and the second term. The first term starting from 2013, the second term starting from 2017. And then he wants us to believe that things really changed in 2018 when he was cast out. But don't you think that is still a considerable amount of time being sitting at the helm there, being part of the presidency, to try and these things that are bedeviling the country?
Yes, I think he was part of the government. I think they took some decisions. My thinking is that they did a lot of planning. They were looking forward for implementing. But of course, everything you do in a constitutional democracy like ours, you have to do it with the approval of your boss.
Okay.
So the boss might have changed course and said, I don't want to do APCD. I don't think that the deputy president is stating anything outside the correct position.
That is true.
If you look at 2014, if you want to know that things are worse off today than they became after the handshake, look at the exchange rate of the dollar in 2014. And look at the exchange rate of the dollar to the shilling from 2018, 2019, 2020. That's how you simply rate whether Uhuru Raila is doing well and better than Uhuru Ruto. The shilling was stronger in 2014 when Ruto was in government, doing things with our president, working together as a team. But once the handshake came up, we lost money through KEMSA, and again, the shilling depreciated further. It has depreciated more. Now you are telling us to vote for the status quo until by 2024 our shilling will be $1.200.
NYS happened before handshake, but let's move from that. Let's talk about something different.
Let me respond a bit.
Well, in a minute or less.
We have to respond because people are watching us.
Go ahead.
It is important
Go ahead.
that we don't vote for the status quo.
Okay.
But then we must remind my brother here, the status quo is Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
You can't say that.
That's what it is. That is the status quo. Because Kenyans elected these two fellows and they are still in power together.
Of hypocrisy.
A lot of the things you see today began taking shape 2 days ago. That is how things work. Including things like the dollar. You have said Kibaki did very well, which is true. Are you telling me Kibaki returned the shilling to the pre-Moi, made it better?
Okay, let's move on to something different. Because I want us to wrap up. Just give him an opportunity to finish. Kindly, sir.
How much money did we borrow under Ruto Uhuru? And how much money have we borrowed under...
Fair enough. Let him just finish. Yep, finish.
Allow me to finish. Even the cheapness of somebody borrowing more, part of the borrowing has to do with what you have already borrowed. I know he's not an economist. Part of the borrowing.
Are you?
I'm not. One of the reasons why, in fact, Parliament was being asked to increase the ceiling to 9 trillion was so that the government could borrow money to use that money to retire certain debts that had been borrowed on commercial basis. So sometimes you borrow because of the money you took, like in the first term, and therefore the challenges we are facing today, including food shortage, have their genesis in the first term.
Okay.
And if you are a really serious person, when you are in charge of the government according to you in the first term, not even just a co-president, but things you are the one who did. What is this thing you did about agriculture that Uhuru has brought down? Okay. Did you build a fertilizer plant and Uhuru has raised it down? Okay. If you look at the amount of money they spend on like the last mile, putting electricity, we are doing those plants still. If you take money in places like agriculture, it's not much to steal. If you improve the salaries of the workers of this country, you can't follow somebody's money and steal. So those projects...
Are you saying is he saying that Uhuru was making projects that would enable him, developing projects that can make him steal? And
we are talking about status quo.
I want us to move on to something. I want us to move on to something different.
1 second.
Omosh Kazola is watching and is saying, yes, it's not President Uhuru Kenyatta's job description to support Raila, but it's also not his job description to support his deputy, that is William Ruto. But I want us to talk about the issue of pollsters. Yes. Different pollsters in this country have been giving projections that are world apart. Yes. And I want to stay with you, Professor. Don't you think that is a recipe for chaos?
Well, I do not think Kenyans are going to be so worried and concerned about opinion polls. Even in America, where the art has been perfected and the science has been perfected, they get it wrong. They got it wrong on Hillary Clinton. They got it wrong on Trump. They get it wrong. And sometimes even the issue of varying polls, different pollsters, giving completely different polls. That's not an issue.
Okay.
The issue in this country is not about whether polls are right or not. The issue as we sit here now is where does the country seem to be moving? The country seems to be moving in the direction of a Raila Odinga presidency. It doesn't have to be opinion polls. Any sensible Kenyan looking at the political map of this country will tell you the tide has shifted and Raila Odinga, who is headed of State House. That doesn't need an opinion poll.
Okay.
And the reasons are not even great. I could give my friend.
I can
because
see he's itching to
Kenyans
respond.
have simply reduced this thing to a very simple thing.
You know what?
Okay, recipe for chaos, Professor? Different results from different
you
pollsters?
see, I agree with him on the fact that opinion polls, even where in the even in our country, you realize that the opinion polls have been weaponized, such that the people come up, and also it has become a commercial enterprise. You use them to threaten opponents rather than get the science right. And now opinion pollsters are have on a spree to intimidate opponents and then give particular results which are cooked. So I think the opinion polls really, in my opinion, don't worry me. But where I think he is wrong is that without any science, any respect for science, he says you don't need to wonder who is going to what State House. You know, my brother Manyora should differentiate between his personal desires to become the interior minister under Raila Odinga, which he has been, you know, salivating about since 2017.
I want us to our time is over, sir.
What is really true on the ground.
Our time is
so when he says, if Raila Odinga is heading towards State House, has he reached University Way? Is he coming from Eastlands? You know, you can't talk like that.
Finally,
so,
I want us to talk about...
I'll be happy if he's appointed the Interior Secretary, because that is what he wants. I hope Raila Odinga is hearing. Make sure you give Manyora the Interior Ministry.
Very briefly, I want us to wrap this up because we are running out of time.
Yes.
Professor, your final remarks in 30 seconds or less.
My final remarks: Kenya should vote peacefully. And just to inform my brother, this election has already been decided, and the people are basing themselves on two things: one, on corruption, and the two, who between the Raila team and the William Samoei team can they trust to fight corruption? It's not about anything else. All those beautiful things will not work if you don't kill corruption. And the people are asking Martha Karua, Raila Odinga on one side, Rigathi Gachagua, William Ruto on the other side. Who can you believe can slay the dragon of corruption?
Fair enough, Professor.
Yeah. This election will be decided by the economy. And because people are suffering, and you have seen we have spent a lot of time talking about the status quo and the suffering people are going through, people are going to be towards the economy, but they will not vote in presidents who will take over the job of the judiciary. You have seen them saying they will take people to the committee. That is interfering with the institution of the judiciary. We are going to make people want a country with institutions that work, independent institutions, but they are going to vote the economy.
Thank you very much, Professor Edward Kisiangani, political strategist, who I also have to note that is a member of the William Ruto Campaign Council, and Professor Herman Manyora, political analyst. Thank you so much for finding time to join us for this very, very healthy discussion.
Thank you to Eric.
Thank you, Herman.
And we must come again.
Yes, welcome back.
So that I can help my friend to understand a few things.
Welcome anytime. Thank you so much.
I have helped Manyora. He's now a better person. He's thinking properly.
Well, thank you.
Thank you too.
Well, that has been Gameplan 2022. Remember, yes, I can see a lot of feedback from my tab here. Some of it